So the Dallas Cowboys of Dallas, Texas, of the Jones family, of Arlington, of Frisco, Arlington, Dallas, Fort Worth, of all of the greater Metroplex area, the Metroplex Cowboys. The Metroplex Cowboys have let go of Mike McCarthy, which means, folks, his house is going to be for sale, and I've seen pictures of that thing, and it's nice. If you can afford it, buy Mike McCarthy's house. It's nice. So they have decided to part ways. I honestly don't know how I feel about it because of this. Is any coach and I used to have the theory that any coach, that there was going to be a coach who could be like Jimmy. And, I mean, Barry Switzer had the roster built for him. I think he doesn't get enough credit for dealing with that and getting them to NFC Championship, Super Bowl back-to-back before it just eventually.
I mean, he managed it.
He managed it. But can do like Jimmy did and tune Jerry out just enough to get everything done. I don't know if that at this point in Jerry's life, if that is something that's going to happen.
I don't think it is. And
so I don't know if the coach, Kyle Visser, are you going to address Jerry's Oscar? It would be Emmy or Golden Globe nomination for Landman. Yeah, I just actually caught up and watched it yesterday. Holy crap, man.
What is Landman?
Landman is a show with Billy Bob Thornton, and it is the balls.
Okay.
It is awesome. It's by Taylor Sheridan, who did Yellowstone.
Okay.
And Billy Bob Thornton is amazing in this show. He plays Billy Bob Thornton.
Okay.
But he's just amazing in it. But the best part of the show has been a scene with John Hamm, award-winning actor. Billy Bob Thornton, award-winning actor. Jerry Jones, not an award-winning actor, acting circles around everybody.
Because he's being natural, I'm sure.
Because he was being very genuine.
Yeah.
He was telling a very genuine story about how he wanted to work with his family. And I think it's also kind of humanized Jerry a little bit. But I will tell you this. Landman Terry Fuller, John Sellers, Cody Campbell, all consultants on Landman, which would explain the overwhelming Texas Tech push on that show.
I'm assuming this has stuff to do with oil.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. It's all West Texas,
Okay.
Midland, Odessa. Occasionally they go to Fort Worth to see John Hamm.
Okay.
Because he's the billionaire owner of the company. But, it's Midland, Odessa. Yeah, no, and that, his son went to Tech. His daughter's going to go to Tech.
Okay.
Not that you wouldn't when you're talking about a show in West Texas. And John Hamm's daughter in the show goes to TCU because he's in Fort Worth. I'm just surprised that none of the other schools that have big oil and gas presences like UT or A&M have been mentioned at all.
I like how they cut it out. I respect that so much, honestly.
I'm not saying
I respect
Tech,
a lot of that.
Tech is full of oil, that's one of their big things. But it also is at those other two schools. So now I know that the consultants, They ride horses and shoot guns, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's what they are. So that makes a ton of sense. Because I wonder if somebody said, like, what about A&M? Well, are they out here consulting you? No, then shut up. And very well deserved. So, very well deserved. Like I'm saying, one thing that did pop up, I was like, either Taylor Sheridan is a fan of Texas Tech, and look, that's Tech country in Midland.
Oh, it's definitely
That's Tech country for sure. So you wouldn't have like people wearing A&M or Texas hats walking around as much as you would Tech hats anyway. But it was a little bit surprising to me that to this point has been left out. And I do have a feeling if it gets worked in, whoever that person is going to be maybe a little bit of a villain in the show. Like whether they're an actual villain that hurts people or just some kind of robber baron.
Okay.
You know, in general. But again, the consultants are telling you. So you just do that. But yeah, Jerry was great in it. But I don't know if the way that they construct that roster, the way that they have zero understanding of how to manipulate the cap in their favor, how they continually make bad decisions when it comes to that, and they're constantly paying for them, and not admitting that. Here's the thing that the new coach, I think why Mike McCarthy is going is what the Cowboys will not say out loud, because CD has a big contract, Dak, of course, has a big contract, and Mike is about to get a big contract.
Correct.
And they're going to have three players that are going to dominate the money of that room. Zach Martin's probably retiring. If I had to guess anything, I would say he's retiring. DeMarcus Lawrence is going to be gone. You know, they're going to lose a lot of, like Jordan Lewis, a guy I really wish they wouldn't lose, who's one of their better players, especially like one of their key role players, those army ants that you need. He's probably gone because, you know, he's got, like, you got to cash in. You can't bring back DeMarcus Lawrence towards the end of his career. We can go cash in and win a Super Bowl. This team is in a rebuild. They're not in the playoffs. They're maybe not in a rebuild like the Titans would be or the Patriots, because they've got their quarterback signed. But again, that's a $60 million albatross for at least the next 2 seasons on that cap. And after that, you know, that's at the only point where they can decide. They have Dak for 2 more years. So the next 2 years needs to be all about doing whatever you can to win a Super Bowl with Dak, because after that 2 years, then things start to get where, okay, this is, you know, this would have been over a decade in the league now.
Right.
And no Super Bowls. Maybe it's time to start anew. But like I've said many times, the Cowboys don't have the decency to be bad enough to acknowledge a full rebuild is needed. As a matter of fact, this team is in a perpetually soft rebuild ever since Tony Romo retired, right? And they were in a soft rebuild, you know, they've been in a soft rebuild since the triplets were gone.
Yeah.
They've never had a full,
for like most of my life. Yeah.
I say that. No. The only time they've decided to fully rebuild was Parcells. Since Bill Parcells came there in 2000, or whenever he was there, like 2000, 2001.
Yeah.
In 20 years, they have never been bad enough for long enough to really look at themselves and go, what do we need to change? Top down. And if that means 2 bad seasons in a row and clearing the cap out, building up draft picks and restarting from there, we're part of it is they're the Cowboys and they don't want to do that. But also, hey, even the Cowboys, they had to be torn down to the rivets when Jerry bought them. That first season was 1-15, but without that 1-15, they don't get Russell Maryland the next year. You know, they don't, you know, they made the Herschel Walker trade, which set them up. That's not going to happen again. But who could, like, after 2 years from now, when they're really going to have to face this, if they haven't won a Super Bowl, it's going to be probably all right, CeeDee Lamb was great for us, but what draft picks can you get from him from a contender? Micah Parsons is still young, and he's what we're going to build the defense around, so we're not going to mess with Micah. But it's time to shed things and recoup and move on. They've never really done that. And I don't think, if you look at every single team that contends for the Super Bowl now. They've had a period where they have completely shed their previous identity. Completely.
Yeah, quick.
Completely.
A lot of them done it quick.
Yeah, and because they've decided this is not who we are anymore. Mm-hmm. The Cowboys don't know who they are. So I don't know what coach they're going to bring in that can do that. And here's the problem. The coaches that are in the league right now, like I think the perfect coach for the Cowboys would be Sean McVay.
Yeah.
All things being equal. But guess what? He's not available. And I can't say, well, maybe they'll trade for him. Maybe they'll do this. Maybe he'll quit. Maybe he and the Rams will get sideways, and they're not.
Where would you like to see them go, or where do you legitimately think?
You'll see the top 5 later today. Okay. But right now, if I'm trying to not do a rebuild, you know who I want? I want Pete Carroll. I want someone like that. Now, if you're going to do a rebuild, like I know all the Cowboys fans, and there's a bunch of Cowboys bloggers and media out there, they're all horny for Ben Johnson. I would love it. I just don't think they can do on-the-job training because this is not Ben Johnson's roster. Mm-hmm. It is a combination of Jason Garrett and Mike McCarthy's roster. And until they shed all that, and there's some things you shouldn't shed, but there are things like, you know what? I love Trayvon Diggs, but if you could trade him and get some draft picks, do that. So, these are things that they need to do because I don't see a Super Bowl anytime in the near future with the cap problems that they have right now. You have got to, look, to steal a term from Landman, which Jerry was on, they've got to work over this pump. They got to work it over. It's expensive, it's risky, but if you ever want to hit the honey hole again, mm-hmm. you have to work over the pump. I know about oil now, baby. No.
So I'm curious on this because I keep going back to Friday and when Mickey was on and the conversation that y'all were having, and if I remember correctly, Mickey didn't see them moving off of Mike McCarthy. You didn't feel like they were going to move off of Mike McCarthy. What changed over the weekend? Was this like the games played out and you're seeing some teams not in the playoffs anymore who maybe you were intrigued about getting their coach, whether it's Sean Payton, or is this, okay, you're looking at two interconference rivals in Washington and Philly winning and having upside and like bright futures with their stability at quarterback and playmaking? Is it a culmination of that, or is it just kind of time like that? What do you think changed over the weekend?
I don't think anything changed over the weekend. I think Jerry wanted to do the negotiating window.
So it's just like the
I think they talked a little bit, but I think that Mike McCarthy is not an idiot.
Right.
He's been through this before. And the problems, I really don't think the problems that the Cowboys have are Mike McCarthy's fault.
I don't either. I do not.
Did he walk into the draft room and say, we're not drafting a running back?
No, and he didn't riddle the team with injuries either.
Yeah, he didn't riddle the team with injuries. He didn't hurt Dak. The 2 bad years he had, Dak was hurt. They were 12-5 the other times. Well, was it his fault those 3 times they've lost in the playoffs? Not completely. Look, Dak's got to go out there and play better and not make mistakes. Was it all Dak's fault? No.
Get us some damn weapons.
Did the Cowboys build the offense around any more than Dak and CeeDee Lamb and Tony Pollard, and then when one of them's out, Dak is screwed, right? And then Tony Pollard's gone, and they're like, okay, you know what we're going to do to replace that? The guy that we cut to keep Tony Pollard.
Get him back.
That we cut him for a reason. And it's all of that. None of this stuff makes sense. And again, they've never worked over the pump. They've never. I'm gonna Catalina's Cowboys corner. I'm gonna wear out this metaphor when we launch it this week. They've got to work over the pump. Bottom line, they got to work over the pump, and they've never done it. And many oil companies, I found this out, don't, because it's expensive, and they just decide, you know what, I'm just gonna
else.
I'll just turn it off and I'll go somewhere else. It'll be cheap. I'll take the money that would cost to do this and I'll go in another field. Well, guess what? You can't do that. This is your pump, man. This is the oil field that you have, Jerry. I know that you can put up gas wells all over the place and make all the money that you want doing that and have that. You have one field, one with you.